I would like to welcome you to the upper echelon. I want you to be honest and don't you lie. Don't you think of lying. Be for real. You're not a Bud Crawford fan. You just hate Spence, right? Hate it or love it, the underdogs on top. Last night, boxing had left little to be desired. It was a great stink that arose between Rances Bartholomew and Gary Antwaun Russel. The fight was stopped short in controversial fashion, kind of like the Victor Postol fight when he got stopped and gave to Gary Russell when he was still able to fight. And I'm not blaming Gary Russell, but a lot of things have begun to happen with Gary Antwaun Russell. This fight right here saw Rances Bartholomew, who was actually winning in the fight. He was giving Gary Antwaun Russell a boxing lesson. Yes, Gary Antwaun Russell, with the loss of his brothers and his father, came into that fight too emotional. He was wild, he was sloppy, he wasn't showing the same pedigree that we once came to see from him. And Rances Bartholomew was catching him with counter rights and counter lefts all night long. And in one point in the second round, he caught him with a counter right straight on the button, had Gary Antwaun hurt. Yes, I mean he was hurt. He had to clinch on and hold on because Bartholomew almost finished. But during the fight, Bartholomew was not affected by Gary Russell's power. In fact, he locked up, clinched, and chose to fight it out with him in each round. Each round, they would get in a barrage and a very vicious exchange of punches. And 7 times out of 10, you would see Bartholomew come away landing the greater and the better punches. But somehow, some way, Gary Russell pulled this out. And I'm not going to say corruption was involved, but it don't look right. And it seems to see, once Gary Russell got a chance to clip Rances Bartholomew, the people behind the scenes wasn't taking no chances. Yes, I'm calling this a stink, yes. Because Gary Antwaun Russell caught Bartholomew with a shot. Bartholomew got up quick. He looked at the ref in the eyes. The ref gave him a standing 8 count. The man was coherent. He was ready. He was ready to proceed with the fight. And I guess the ref got the call to stop the fight because the fight was going too dangerously. At any moment, Bartholomew could have stopped young Antwaun Russell. And since they got that kid right there, I guess they got a lot of eggs in his basket and they wasn't going to let him go down to Bartholomew. See, it's things like this in the boxing world that makes us lose the casual fan. This is why boxing is going through such a drought right now, because we get crazy calls, bad decisions, and messed up endings. Because that fight was going too well for it to end on such a discrepancy. Sort of like the Victor Postol fight with Gary Antwaun Russell. It was in the 12th round. Postol has never been stopped, but they threw in some type of trickery and got Postol stopped when he was still ready to continue for 12 seconds. See, I guess they got some kind of campaign they going behind with Antwaun Russell. All his fights have ended with stoppages, but I can guarantee you this: if this fight would have continued tonight, he may have been the one stopped because he was too emotional in the fight and he couldn't settle down. He had 6 rounds to settle down and he didn't. And they went ahead and settled it for him. And if I was Antwaun Russell, I would feel less of myself for that win right there, because I couldn't really claim that win right there. And don't get me wrong, I like Antwaun Russell. I think he's a brilliant fighter and he has a large upside, but I call a spade a spade. And last night, he was the ace of spades right there, because he should have been in a much tougher fight, if not them breaking the fight up right there. And yes, Rances Bartholomew, if I was you, I would file with the commission right there, because even everybody in his corner was mad because that man was coherent. He barely got clipped in that shot. But that shows how corrupt it is, and you can see the look on the ref's face like he wasn't about to give that man another shot anyway, because like he done got the call. Anything he does, we're going to end this fight now because it could be bad, because Bartholomew was clipping Gary Russell at an alarming rate, and Gary Russell was getting and showing signs of being battered in the ring. But overall, it was a great fight. It was a good way to test his mettle, and he needs to go back to the gym and work on some things, especially his inside fighting, because Bartholomew was slipping his shots and hitting them with counters. With Russell throwing everything with bad intentions, Bartholomew would counter over the top. Plus, with the longer reach, he he was able to sit back and counter Russel, who was jumping in with his shots. And he would catch him with the left hook over top of the jab a few times. And he would counter it with the right over every time Russel threw that wild hook. But that's all right there. But we need to get it together, boxing world. And we need to stop having decisions and endings like this right now. Because all that does is affect the product of boxing. And it's going to make us lose fans. And we're not going to know what to do when the fans get tired of this and stop tuning in. So, great fight, Gary Russel. Even better fight than you, Francis Bartholomew. I'm sorry that you had to take this, but, you know, you're a winner in my book.